I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Dan. Gentlemen, do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
None?
No, sir.
Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from September 24th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number 1, we have a presentation, Friends of the LaVale Library and Friends of the Frostburg Library. Please.
Where do I go? Over here?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it. My name is Marty Walsh. I moved to Allegany County about 4 years ago. Okay, I discovered this is a very friendly county. 74,000 people. I tell Ray Presley, unfortunately, that's about one Ravens game. Okay, so you can't get away with anything in Allegany County because somebody's going to recognize you. Okay, since I came here, I'm now vice president of the Allegany Middle County Crime Stoppers. Okay, and we, besides offering rewards, okay, spend money educating the county on crime. This past year, we spent $3,000 on street signs. You see those signs around neighborhood watches? Okay, we paid $800 for those to neighborhoods. We help form neighborhood organizations. Okay, I know I'm getting to the library. I'll get to that. I'm also vice president of Allegany County Habitat for Humanity. In another month, we're going to complete the house on 220. Okay, that's going to be about $3,000 a year to Allegany County Treasury with property tax on the house. This coming spring, another house, we're going to blitz build it in 1 week. So by this time next year, we'll have about $5,000 coming in yearly to the Treasury. Okay, the more we build, the more money Allegany County gets, which is a good thing. Okay. And finally, I'm president of the Friends of the Vale Library. Okay, and the library. When I first came here, I was driving down National Highway with my fiance, now wife, and I saw the library. And I'm an avid reader. I became a card holder for the library, and also went to the first meeting, and the lady that was in charge said, offered her resignation, and I'm sitting at the table, about the size of the table here, and she goes, I'm offering my resignation. We would like somebody younger to take over, and everybody sitting at the table turns and looks straight at me. And I said, I guess I volunteered, huh? So that's, you have a very good library system out here. I don't think people really appreciate the system that you have. It's a dependent agency of the county, okay? And you have an excellent library system, okay? There are approximately 50,000 current library card holders in this county. That's 66% of the population in this county has a library card. That's an incredible statistic. It's better, I found out, than Baltimore County, where I'm from. And you have a very good Allegany County library system, and they're holding their own, okay? And just barely. They're using emergency funds that they've had in the past for the past couple of years. I know things, the dollar's tight, okay? I grew up in a tight household, okay? I was 16 years old, going to Archbishop Curley. My parents split up. I had to go to work. I paid my own tuition, my sister's tuition, and the mortgage on our house when I was 16 years old. I know what a tight dollar is like, okay? The only thing I'm saying is, okay, is in the future, okay, because they're gonna run out of their emergency money that they're using right now, okay? It's only gonna last them another 2 or 3 years, okay? And then they cut back hours, okay, this year, okay? The next step after that is they're gonna have to start closing branches. I don't wanna see that happen. You've got a damn good library system here. And I can say that because Mike McKay's not here anymore. I'm gonna get kicked out. But, no, I joke with Mike, I know Mike also, so. But the only thing I'm saying is somewhere in the future, I know you're fighting this thing with the school right now and the budget, I mean, it's tight, okay? Somewhere in the future, 5 years down the road, if we get the money back, think about maybe reimbursing, giving it back, some of it to the library. And that's all I'm saying.
Very good, sir. Because I think in the last 3 or 4 years, we've made several capital contributions to the library to make sure that there's been roof. So that's where a lot of the county's extra money has gone to, that I know of. I mean,
Yeah, capital improvements. We've done numerous capital improvements for them.
thank you for all you do in the community. I know you're quite avid and accomplish a lot, but one of the biggest accomplishments that I've personally seen you do is you got Ray Presley to work. So that's something I would
No,
really
he generally just,
hang my hat on.
no. He generally just stands around and tells everybody else what they got to get done.
I did see you actually make him work one day, so I wish I'd have got a
with-
photo of that.
With the cutting of trees?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We found out how much of an expert he actually was.
Well, actually, that was Bernie Slomack that was cutting the tree, and Ray was kind of directing him.
Yeah.
So,
You supervise.
Okay, well,
I
thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jack and Ruby Riley are here representing Frostburg.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm pleased to address you without complaint and not asking for money. If I appear a little bit nervous, you'll have to forgive me because I haven't spoken before such a group of this size since I testified at David Eberly's parole hearing.
And I understand you were unsuccessful at that, so.
Yeah, he's still here.
I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Friends of the Frostburg Library. We formed in 2002. We're a 501c3 group, means we're a charitable organization. We have complete autonomy from the library system itself. We have approximately 200 family as membership. That's about an average we run for the last 13 years. We're an advocacy group for the library. We belong to the Maryland Citizens for the Library. We support that organization within the Maryland Citizens is a lobbying group that tries to get more money statewide and for the statewide library systems. We, as a advocacy group and a support group, we've done a number of things beyond the basic budget allocations for the Frostburg Library. We managed to get an 8-camera security system with monitor donated by one of our members who owns a security company. And now that has been linked to the basement, to the parking garage of the library to provide additional security. We've provided a number of bookcases. We have currently the STEM program. I gave you a brochure on that. It's a 12-week program designed to introduce students to advances in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And I think there are 47 students enrolled in that program currently. So it's really going to be quite a beneficial program for young people. In addition to our supplies that we purchase for the library, we have a speaker system bureau. We have 2 speakers each year, fall and spring, and our fall speaker will be next Thursday evening at 7 o'clock in John Van Backett's room, and the speaker is Dr. Bogard, a climatologist with the Department of Geography at Frostburg State University, and the topic she's going to present will be climate change, fact or fiction, which sounds like a very viable topic and should be an interesting one. You're all invited. It's free and open to the public, so come on up. We'd like to talk just a little bit about the implications of budget cuts to the library. I know you've given support to the library as much as you feel you can support, and the state certainly has support, but there's been some limitations. And some of the implications of the reduction in funds have been translated into a 11.6 decrease in the gate count at the Frostburg Library and a 6% reduction in circulation because of reduced hours. They're only open now Wednesdays and Thursday evenings, and that is limiting for people who work, obviously. So it's been a little odd, and as Marty said, we're hoping that in the future when budgets become improved, that maybe we can get that support back and reopen that and function out. I'd like to entertain any questions that I might be able to answer for you.
Thank you.
I have none, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well,
Okay, now we'll move along to item 2. Dick DeVore is here to talk about Fire Prevention Week.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is the time of year where we focus everyone's attention on this particular week. It's Fire Prevention Week nationwide, and it's an opportunity for us all to take and zone in and look at our own personal fire prevention. When we look at fire prevention activities and how they mesh with the fire department, it becomes our #1 responsibility. Retired Phoenix Fire Chief Alan Brunacini said it best when he said that if a piece of fire apparatus has to respond to a call, it has to turn a wheel, it's because the system failed. It means the public fire codes that have been put in place have failed. It means the fire prevention has failed. It means the public outreach and educating the public on fire safety has failed. So with that being said, we certainly want everyone's attention this week and every day thereafter to focus on fire prevention. It certainly is a tragic event, and we've seen it all too often whenever we lose individuals to fire, and in particularly children to fires. So this year is a very prominent theme coming out of the National Fire Protection Association, and the theme that they're running on is Hear the Beep Where You Sleep. And it's to reinforce the need to have working smoke detectors in every bedroom in the house to make sure that when a situation arises that individuals can be alerted to that and can safely escape. That's only one small token of fire prevention, but that's the focus this year. And we're certainly encouraging the 10-year lithium battery smoke detectors. Does not require the homeowner to replace the battery. It has a 10-year life on it. When that 10 years is up, that detector gets replaced. Oftentimes we find that inadvertent alarms or the dead battery that just keeps beep beep every so often tends to lead people to want to take the batteries out of the detectors. So with that being said, the lithium battery prevents that. So with that being said, I certainly do appreciate the recognition tonight in National Fire Prevention Week. I just do want to put a plug in. October 17th, we're going to be participating in an event on the downtown Cumberland Mall from 10 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. We're actually going to be doing it in partnership with the Animal Shelter. They're going to be functioning with Barktoberfest on the lower half of the Cumberland Mall, and the fire service is going to have the upper half. And we're going to be doing fire prevention and life safety initiatives on our side. So we'd certainly encourage the public to come out and see the displays and participate in the activities.
Is that this Saturday, Dick?
No, it's October 17th.
17th.
It's
Any idea
Gotcha.
the number of the smoke detectors that the fire departments have gotten out to the public?
At this point, I would say we probably got to be approaching 1,000. And if residents need smoke detectors, I would encourage them to reach out to their local fire departments. We were very, very fortunate to receive a grant from AES, which helped fund some of those smoke detector purchases. And now we're reaching out to others, such as First Alert and such, to look at additional grants to be able to provide smoke detectors.
Want to come on up? Okay, we have an official Allegheny County government proclamation. Whereas working smoke alarms save lives, and whereas 3 of 5 home fire deaths happen in homes with no working smoke alarms, and whereas location, 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 every bedroom needs a working smoke alarm, and whereas all levels of a home, including attics and basements, require a working smoke alarm, whereas now, therefore, we, the Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim October 4th through 10th, 2015 to be Fire Prevention Week in Allegheny County. Encourage all individuals to be proactive. Install smoke alarms now. Change batteries every 6 months and replace these units every 10 years. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Allegheny County, Maryland to be affixed the 8th day of October in the year 2015, signed by all 3 county commissioners, Bill Valentine, Creed Brody, Jake Shane. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for your continued support.
Sir,
Thank you.
Turn it around. Is that upside down?
Thank you, John.
Well, Dick, as you're walking back, and we'll talk just briefly a little bit more on this, because I know that if you're not the chief of Ellerslie, you was a former chief. You still chief?
No, I gave it up after 20 years.
Oh, okay. And I know that Dan Williams was the chief of Mount Savage, and Jane Ann McAlpine in the city of Cumberland, Shannon Adams. You all was in a big push a couple years ago for smoke detectors. So please, anyone out there that says that they can have one because they can't afford it, contact one of these people and they will make it happen. So.
It's a very good program. Okay, we'll move on to item 3. Ms. Courtney Thomas, to the front, please. Deals with a memorandum of understanding between Allegheny County Board of Commissioners and the Allegheny County Area Agency on Aging and the Allegheny County Human Resources Development Commission.
Yes. So this is the Senior Center Operating Grant that HRDC, as the designated area agency on aging, historically receives. With the change of administration, the Department of Aging wants to directly pass these funds through the local municipality or county government seat for them then to be passed on to the AAA. And the county commissioners, through David Eberly, has graciously agreed to be the pass-through entity. HRDC is responsible for providing all of the services under the grant and maintaining the grant terms with quarterly programmatic and fiscal reporting. It's about $83,000 that comes in that we use at our 4 senior centers. It provides evidence-based training for our seniors, everything from stability ball classes and Tai Chi, as well as yoga and Pilates to help people improve their balance. We also partner with Allegany College of Maryland to offer computer classes for seniors. And in recent years, we've done a lot with social media to help seniors stay connected with their families, especially family members that are no longer here in this community. And it also sponsors some annual events that we have that have become very popular, one of which being the Fall Fling that happened 2 weeks ago at the Allegheny County Fairgrounds. We had about 400 seniors that participated in that event. And then in the spring, our annual senior prom that we have about another 200 seniors that participate, some of which never actually got to experience a high school prom, depending on where they were in life at that time.
Any questions? Do we have a motion to accept the MOU?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Courtney.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Diane, you're up. This deals with the Allegheny County Board of Elections Memorandum of Understanding for early voting.
All right.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm here to ask permission to use room 100 for our early voting site for the 2016 presidential elections. So you'll have to give up your room for a few weeks. The reason for this is with the implementation of same-day registration, we need additional room to make that work. We'll have additional equipment, additional tables, and this was the best place to do that. Early voting is going to begin for the primary April 14th through the 21st, and the hours will be from 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. And then for the general election, they will run October 27th through November 3rd. With the change in hours, they will be from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. for the general election. Okay. And just a little side note, we are going to be beginning our voter outreach campaign next week. I think that we have a scheduled meeting at the Rotary Club next week. So if anybody's interested in the new voting system equipment, give us a call.
Any questions, gentlemen?
I don't know. Is this place up to Donald Trump standards?
It is.
Luxurious enough?
Could be.
If not,
he'll
Dave's
take a place
bonus
through
room
eminent
will be
domain.
available.
Do we have a motion to accept this this memorandum of understanding?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Dorsey, Allegheny County Fairgrounds Facilities Plan.
Hi. You may recall in July you allocated program open space funds to fund a study for future developments at the fairgrounds. Well, since then, staff has prepared and issued a request for proposals It was forwarded to 15 mostly local consulting firms and a Maryland Planning Association clearinghouse. And we were seeking a firm with expertise and experience in landscape architecture, recreation planning, and public assembly design. We received 2 proposals. Mr. Eberly, the Director of Public Works, Mr. Kale, and myself, we reviewed the proposals and recommend the selection of Convergence Design of Kansas City to conduct the study. They're highly qualified. They have past clients, including the Maryland Stadium Authority and PNC Park in Pittsburgh. And this is 90% funded by Program Open Space.
Wow.
Okay, this, you know, we got fairgrounds, it's a real jewel, and this will
Absolutely.
polish that jewel a little bit more. Do we have a motion to proceed?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Next is one that Mr. Barkley's been waiting and waiting to present this tonight. Makes him a happy boy. Power purchase agreement.
Yes. Thank you, Commissioners. We first talked about this back in January of this year. The idea of putting in a solar project to offset some of our wastewater treatment plant costs. Mr. Kay will be appreciative of that as well. But through some growing pains of figuring out what sites to choose, we came up with 2 sites, one at Darrow's Lane Pump Station, one adjacent to Public Safety Building at North Branch Industrial Park. We then came up with the request for proposals. We advertised that in July, and the bids were due in August 25th, and the county received 9 proposals in total. We then put together a solar review committee. We evaluated those according to the stated criteria and ended up with 4 finalists and went through an interview period with those. And we're pleased to announce that we're recommending a group. Selected solar team the name is Urban Grid Holdings, LLC, and Global Resources Options is their partner. They do business as Grow Solar. They actually did a solar project in Kent County, and we called and checked them out, and it was a great success there in Kent County. But also, just to give a little bit of an example about, you know, the reason why we chose them, their proposal, we felt, the committee felt that would give us the best opportunity for a savings over the life of the project, which would be 25 years through the power purchase agreement. Assuming average grid rates are 6.9% per kilo, or 6.9 cents per kilowatt hour for non-residential accounts, our agreed upon price in this PPA, the proposed would be 5.9 cents per kilowatt hour. So day one, we would be in theory saving money. Roughly in year one, that would be $27,000 in year one. If we assume over 25 years that the grid rate would stay the same and not increase, that would be a savings of about $630,000 over 25 years. Data would suggest that over the last 23 years, the grid rate has went up 2.9%. If we would assume the 2.9% over 25 years, the savings would be over $2.5 million over the 25 years. So, as you can see, I mean, the grid, in theory, you know, during the 90s, it stayed pretty flat. It was only in the late 90s and the 2000s it really started to pick up steam. So it's good that the proposal, some of those rates had an escalation rate that we would end up having to pay a 2% escalation or even up to a 3%. But this 5.9 cents is a flat rate that we would assume over the next 25 years.
And it's a safe bet those rates are never going down. They're only going to go
Yeah.
up for the transfer rates.
So with that, we're looking for the Board of Commissioners to authorize staff to pursue the the power purchase agreement with the two groups mentioned to construct a ground mount solar voltaic generating system at the site at 12704 Darrows Lane and at 11500 Pittsburgh Plate Glass Road.
Any questions?
Jeff, great work. This is a great thing for the county.
It's the start off, I hope. So,
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Jeffrey, can you just stay at the microphone for a minute and let's chat about the time frame? And give us a window. I don't want to nail it down to a week or a couple of days, but in terms of once we have the power purchase agreement in place, when might be able to see some improvements being made at those two locations?
Well, I mentioned Mr. Kale before. One of the sites has some trees on there.
Mhm.
We're going to have to remove some of those trees, and we'll depend on county staff to do. We'll market that timber, but we'll depend on county staff to get stump removal in some of those places. And of course, the agreements, the power, or I guess the company here, the deal doesn't work without the solar credits. And of course, they expire at the end of 2016. So, in theory, when we get the sites set up, they'll start construction sometime late spring. And it'll only take them, in theory, probably 2 to 3 months to really get them underway and operational. But, the proposal basically said they need to be in place and functional by the end of 2016. There's another little caveat in there, and that is the interconnection agreements and things that has to take place between the power company, which for us is Potomac Edison. That takes a series of months for the company to get that all established. So that's kind of the timeline.
Jeff, do you know the total cost of the project for them on their side?
I don't.
Gotcha. I was wondering the level of tax credits compared to.
Yeah, there's definitely some mumbo jumbo in there about figuring out, because even the credits.
It's a legal term.
It is. The credits are kind of done at auction, and they're just they're kind of projecting what they think they're going to get out of those, but it's a several $1 million project for both sites.
Great.
Very good.
And that's the other thing we'll add in, is that the county is not expending any capital in the development of these sites. We're just agreeing to pay a certain price over the 25 years. So that's another good thing.
Sounds good.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Jeff.
Jeff. Okay, Mr. DeVore, come on back up. Dick will be talking about the alerting system contract award, and then after that, a radio console contract award.
And Commissioners, I'm going to ask that he share the microphone with Jason Bennett for just a few seconds here. It's part of any discussion that might ensue.
Commissioners, what you have before you is a request to award two contracts in items 7 and 8, and they were sort of somewhat tied together. Item number 7 addresses replacement of the county's aging alerting system. At present, we currently exist on the low band radio spectrum. Probably doesn't mean a lot to the end user, but the bottom line for us is that through the FCC and through the vendors, equipment is ceasing to be produced on low band for our application. Motorola, the leading vendor of fire department alerting pagers, their latest version of paging device is no longer available on low band. So ultimately, we knew that we were being pressed to upgrade our radio equipment. With the advent of the state system, we realized we also had surplus UHF frequencies, and this system builds on those surplus frequencies. What we've done, looking out and projecting out, is recognizing that with the new system coming in being Motorola, we certainly want to maintain that same level of service, that same commitment of quality. We've gone out and we'll be attaching to the competitively bid state contract for this equipment for the alerting system, and that contract and installation will be at $629,000. I will tell you that our low band alerting system, we've been on low band since the inception of our alerting system, which is probably the early 1970s. So some of the equipment is certainly aging and in need of replacement.
You got anything on that one, Jason?
We'd originally talked about this as part of the CIP process back in the spring. So we knew this was coming. This is kind of part of a three-part project for Dick. These are the first two steps, and unfortunately the smaller of the three steps. This was in our fiscal year 17 CIP, so we're slightly ahead of the game, but Dick essentially has to move on this project to get it done. So what we're going to ask tonight is that we essentially pull this money from fund balance as long as you guys approve. So if you approve this contract tonight, I'll come back to you in the future within this year and do a budget amendment to utilize fund balance to pay for this. We looked at a lease option, but it was going to cost another $180,000, and with legal fees, we're looking at another $200,000. So it makes the most sense to go and pay cash for this. So at least from my end, it's probably the best way to proceed with this transaction. We wanted to originally borrow other funds for other projects, so those other projects aren't ready, so it didn't make sense to incur the cost to borrow. So that's why we're here tonight.
Yeah, paying that interest just like throwing it down the drain, really.
In this case, it doesn't really make sense for us, so it's better off to just do this.
Any questions or discussions on this?
Just a couple comments. You know, when we tap into fund balance, there's a couple questions that I think we should ask ourselves. And is this a one-time cost? You know, this isn't operating funds. This is something that's coming, and we knew it was coming, and it's not going to be every couple of years we got to do this. And how many people are affected by it? You know, it's not a couple hundred people. It's the whole county that's going to be impacted. And is this necessary? Or are we being forced by the state to do it? And I think that's a yes. And can it be delayed? And I mean, not really. I don't think that we could push this back much longer. So as much as I hate tapping into fund balance for anything, this seems to be something that would be ideal to do it on.
Okay, gentlemen, I make a motion, we move forward with item 7. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Dick, item 8.
Item 8, Commissioners, is another one of those radio projects. This has been in the capital program for 5 years now. Basically, it is to replace the existing radio console system. The system was originally installed in 1998, and we've basically been given a sundown date by Motorola. They ceased selling this line of product about 4 years ago, and we had till December for the availability of spare parts on the existing system. After that, they will not allow us to renew a service contract. At this point, with the new state radio system coming on the horizon, this console upgrade does make the most practical sense for us because it allows us to take advantage of the full interoperable capabilities of the system. And once again, we're attaching to the competitively bid state contract for the purchase of this equipment in the sum of $1,292,000. Now, with that being said, just to elaborate a little bit on what Jason spoke about, is we've sort of leveraged the two projects together, and by moving forward at the same time with both these projects, we're actually receiving a 5% discount from the vendor, which when you look at the size of this project, it's considerable.
So it's another $100,000 we're saving by throwing them together, so any more reason to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, 5% whenever you're talking millions is a lot of
Adds up
change.
quick. Yes.
Okay, gentlemen, any more discussion on this?
No. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Dave, our consent agenda.
Commissioners, tonight we have 10 items on our consent agenda, and if you'll permit me, I'd like to briefly go over items 9 through 17 as a single motion and reserve item 18 outside of the initial motion so that Mark Yoder, who is here tonight, can have an opportunity to speak about the acquisition of this piece of equipment. So, Commissioners, items 9 and 10 are motions for the appointments to the Housing Authority Board and the county's Civil Service Board of Appeals. Item 11 is a motion to accept the 2016 Emergency Medical Dispatch Grant in the amount of $3,410. Item 12 is a motion to adopt Resolution 15-19, which is a resolution that will allow us to tweak ever so slightly Article 6.3 of the county's rules and regs, which covers temporary reclassifications. Item 13 is a bid award for Allegany 2 Phase 2 Last Mile Project to Sky Packet Network in the amount of $200,000. This project is being funded through our CIP program and the county's ARC grant award. Item 14 is a bid authorization to allow us to move ahead with replacing the county's aging phone system. And on behalf of all the employees in Allegany County, Commissioners, if you approve this one tonight, we will be deeply indebted. We experience a tremendous amount of outage on the current system that we have in place. Item 15 is a motion to partner with the town of Westernport to abate county property taxes at 230 Vine Street, which is a blighted property, and this property is scheduled to be raised. Items 16 and 17, Commissioners, are grants to be accepted by the Allegany County Sheriff's Office from the City of Cumberland and Frostburg State University. Funds being provided by the City of Cumberland will be used to seek compliance with the statute governing sex offender verification, and the FSU grant will support specialized patrols during homecoming and Halloween.
Any questions?
No.
Do we have a motion to accept items 9 through 17?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Yoder.
Hello, Commissioners.
Sir.
I'll be brief here. We're interested in purchasing a combination back truck. We have one now. We have the opportunity to purchase another one with grant money that's available from USDA. They fund a lot of our sewer projects, and at times we'll fund equipment purchases, and this is one of those opportunities. We've had the previous truck since 2007 and found it extremely useful, and we can actually use 2 trucks. And we've been, in recent years, we've probably done work for every municipality in the county, one time or another, with our truck, and also different divisions in Allegany County. So it's a very versatile piece of equipment.
Is this truck going to be a tandem, Mark, this
It's
next
a
one?
tandem, yes, sir.
And part of the operations of this thing daily is maintenance on our sewer line, which I believe we have to do.
Yes.
By law, we are required to clean so many feet of sewer a year and keep it documented and this and that, to stay with our consent decree, and there's a whole bunch of other moving
There's a
parts
bunch
there.
of requirements. We get under consent order to make construction improvements, but also to, actually, just like you're saying, maintenance, and also
Yeah.
keep records of what we do clean.
Right.
And I can speak on behalf of the municipalities that they're, in the last 2 years alone, our truck runs 5 days a week except when it's down for repairs. But Westernport, Midland, Coney, Frostburg, Laveo, everyone has utilized this piece of equipment. So thank you for that, because they most certainly appreciate it. So.
Anything else?
Yep.
Do we have a motion to accept item 18?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
County Administrator.
Commissioners, nothing further?
Yeah, Rod doesn't have anything.
I have nothing.
Okay, Jake, do you have any statements?
Yeah, today we met with the Transportation Secretary Ron here in this room a couple hours ago, and he's been saying the same things that I think we've been wanting him to say, and State Highway and MDOT have definitely followed through on what they've come into office to do and try to do. And I went to the Governor's Regulatory Reform Commission meeting in Hagerstown last week, and so it was like 3 hours of what regulations could we change, what's the biggest thing holding Maryland back, and State Highway and MD were the 2 biggest culprits. So it's not just our local area, and I think we're seeing so much improvement And the new development in LaVale is just a testament to that. All the stuff that was blocked up and now is just coming to fruition is great to see.
Well, very good, Commissioner. I'm glad to hear that because that's always the two biggest roadblocks I run into all the time. First of all, I'd like to welcome Sheriff Robertson here. It's good to see you this evening, sir. And I don't know what you've done special tonight, but he does have his wife with him this evening, and she dislikes these meetings as much as my own wife. So I don't know what he has done. It's so good to get her out tonight.
Normally, he only takes her out when there's free food available. He's sort of cheap that way.
I don't know. I usually hit him up for dinners all the time, but that's here and there. But no, second of all, thanks Secretary Ron and his staff. And he brought a complete staff. They was helpful. They stayed after the meeting, had any questions, problems. We all spent time with him in this room up to within a half hour of this meeting starting. So I think that goes a long way to what the governor said, that he is fulfilling his promises.
Okay, Commissioners, you had mentioned during our meeting with the Secretary that we've seen him a lot recently. In fact, it's been 3 times in the last 8 weeks.
Yeah,
So,
unbelievable. Thank you, sir. That's it.
Okay, for myself, had an interesting few days. September 26th, took part in an event hosted by the Family Junction. Somehow, Mr. Shade was invited to be in the dunk tank, but he wasn't available that day, so I ended up being in the dunk tank for them. But it was a great event. They had the Sheriff's Department took part in it, City Police, State Police. They had a number of individuals dressed up as superheroes, and the kids got to meet their favorite heroes, and most of them got scared to death meeting their favorite heroes. But this will be an annual event. Friday, October 2nd, we had a meeting once again with another state secretary, Secretary Grumbles of Maryland Department of the Environment. And I'd just like to say publicly, I've gotten nothing but rave reviews about the presentation that was made by our panel. That panel was made up by Angie Patterson, Dan DeWitt, Paul Kale, and Jeff Barkley. I've gotten rave reviews from Robin Summerfield, from Secretary Grumbles himself, even Stu Zapsky at the Chamber of Commerce. They thought it was probably one of the best presentations they've heard at any of these meetings. So hats off to those people. Sunday, October 4th, I got to take part in presentation of a Silver Star Award to an Army veteran. Unfortunately, this gentleman won that medal in World War II, and Uncle Sam just now got around to giving it to him. Irwin Butch Johnson, lifelong resident of Allegany County. So it was great to see him finally get this award. Sadly, this is the second such event that I've been at in the last probably 5 months. People won an award in the Second World War and never got them. So this is something hopefully the federal government can do a little bit better job on. October 5th, we actually had lunch with the executive director of MACO and the president of MACO, Ike Leggett, who's the county exec for Montgomery County. And it was nice and sit and talk with those people, see what priorities we have for the coming legislative year. Later that afternoon, I met with Nick Hadley, who's president of the Board of Education, and we sat and talked about the Allegany project. Both the Board of Ed and county commissioners are looking ways to get the cost of that project down to a more affordable level. And this type of talks being taken place in every county in the state. The cost of school construction has just become astronomical. So that's all moving forward. So it's been a busy week, and then with the meeting with the secretary today. And a couple of us are going to a meeting yet tonight after this meeting. For constituents, Mr. Wilmot, please.
Good evening.
Sir.
I'm Mr. Wilmot. I live at 513 Fort Avenue. I signed up for Speak on Pot. Before I speak on pot, I'd just like to say a few words on fire prevention. Fire detectors are good, they're great, but we need to go one step further. I happen to know personally that about, I'd say, 3/4 of the houses in Allegany County are running on 2 wires. I, in the last 15 years, have acquired 2 houses, decrepit. I personally took them apart with my own 2 hands and carted them away. And both of them were running on 2 wires with porcelain. Now then, about 4 years ago, a friend of mine, his sister bought a house up here on Washington Street. So anyway, I happen to know, I would also estimate just about 9 out of 10 houses on Washington Street, they're running on 2 wires. So they were built a long time ago. The reason I know is because my uncle came back from the war, he grabbed me, and he was an electrician, and I helped rewire or place some wiring in them houses. And you go down in the basement, man, it is a nightmare. Same in other houses I've been in. Anyway, what I suggest, that all the volunteer fire departments not only take care of giving people fire detectors, that they buy a tester. You can check every receptacle. And this tester only costs a couple, $10 or $12, and it would tell you in a second whether that receptacle is wired properly. Anyway, now then, I would like to make another suggestion that the housing inspector, you make a law that in the year 2020, that every house in Allegany County has to be hardwired. Hardwired means every fire detector in your house is on a separate line. If one goes off, they all go off. That's what I got in my house. And let me tell you, you buy these detectors today, they are so sensitive. If I put a piece of toast in my toaster, and the stupid thing, I don't get it out in time, all the fire detectors go off. And that's how sensitive they are. So upstairs, fire detectors are good, but those receptacles is what's causing the fire, and 99% of your fires. If one goes off, let me tell you, they all go off, it gets your attention, but if just one gets off, somebody might not hear it. At a minimum, for a small house, they should have at least 4 or maybe 5 detectors. Bedroom, living room, kitchen, basement. When they all go off, buddy, it gets your attention, let me tell you.
Well, the good thing is, Mr. Wilmot, 50% of your wishes already come true, because any new house is built, I think it was after 1985 or 86, it is required to have
new
it.
house is no problem on it. But all over town, we got these old wooden houses, and buddy, when they plug in these El Cheapo heaters from Big Lots and wherever they get them, that receptacle gets red hot, and it don't take much to start a fire. A receptacle that's collected dust for 100 years. See what I'm getting at?
Yes, sir.
I wish you would make it a law. Say, hey, we're going to go a step further to protect our citizens. In 2020, every building has to be hardwired. So that when one goes off, they all go off. And if you're in an apartment house, you got 20 rooms, that should be 20 fire detectors going off. That would save a lot of lives. Anyways, back to pot. I might need another 5 minutes. I am 100% against the use of pot, the growing of it, and the legalization of it for any reason. There is no scientific medical proof that marijuana is beneficial for any kind of medical use. The second you take it, it hits your brain. You fry your brain. Personally, I think, our fire departments and our law enforcement's got enough work to do without legalizing pot. I can see the writing on the wall. I can see the railroad train coming down the track over the mountain. A year from now, they're going to legalize recreational pot. That's what they're working on. And I think as representatives of the citizens of Allegheny County, we don't need pot in our county. Just look at the problems it's causing. All you gotta do is talk to the sheriff or any policeman. He'll tell you. These people didn't start out shooting up heroin or whatever. They all started on whatever. But anyway, Mr. Shade, at your age, I want you to remember what I said today. Because when you're 79 years old like me, you're going to have a lot of experience down the road. And you're going to wish that you never heard of the word pot or medicinal this or medicinal that, because it ain't going to work. It's going to affect, it already affects everybody in this county, in this world. Drugs, and we don't need no more drugs. We need to get them out of our life. All these drugs, whether it's pot, meth, or what all of that, anything these people are inventing to circumvent the law. It's going to ruin our country if we don't. So, Mr. Shade, it's your responsibility to speak up against this. I could almost bet you $1,000 right now that you know people that probably overdosed.
No, can't say that I do.
How about in your family?
No.
I got it in my family, and it's almost 100% all across the state. Anyway, I would like to see some action on these tests. It only costs a couple bucks. We could, put out, heck, if anybody wants to, I got 2 of them. Come and borrow one. I'll send it to you, check out your house. But I think when the volunteer fire companies go to these places and check in their houses, and then they should take a tester with them and test these things, then tell them, say, hey, you can't put a heater in here, it's not wired right. Go another step, That would eliminate a lot of fires. Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Shade went a long ways towards fire protection this year. He tested the sprinkler system in his home, and it worked quite well.
Did it work okay?
Bill, I'm expecting a discount on that, a 5% discount minimum.
That's all I need to find.
Mr. President, I'd like to close with, tomorrow the governor will be entering the hospital for his 6th treatment, the 6th chemo treatment. I just wish it, and he said when I talked to him the other day, thanks for all the prayers, and please continue them because he does need them. But just, this is his last go-around. He will be in the hospital about 4 days, and then he'll come back out. So
Great.
my request through there from him is to ask for your prayers and your continued concern about him.
Thanks, Mark. And tomorrow also is the grand reopening of the visitor center on Sidling Hill.
Yep.
With that,
Hey, question, are they going to return all the displays back up there?
yes,
Sent to Hancock?
Hancock's taking them back up, yes.
Oh, good.
Our next meeting will be Thursday, October 22nd, here in this room at 5 p.m. There will be news releases on fire prevention, and also there's news releases on the hazardous waste collection that's going on now. With that, meeting's over.
Thank you.